Hi, I'm Venessa Giunta. I am an author and an editor and an all-around like to talk about things person and a little awkward sometimes. But one of my favorite things to do is talk to authors, right? I love talking to authors about their process, their writing, their careers, their marketing, all those things. And I really love just sitting down and just talking about stuff. I mean, communication is my love language. So that's really what I had in mind. I really wanted a situation where I could just have a conversation with somebody. So, and a conversation and a cocktail is really all about us hanging out and drinking together and talking about the stuff. Welcome, everybody, to A Conversation and a Cocktail. Obviously, I'm your host, Venessa Giunta, and our guest in the hot seat tonight is our very own Mr. Joe Compton from here at Go Indie Now. Welcome to my show, Joe.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So all of y'all who are out there, hey, Anita, all of y'all who are out there, if you just take a second and mash the like button and hit subscribe if you're enjoying the show, so you get notifications and everything. The likes and subscribes, but especially the likes, are very important to us because, well, actually, it's very important to YouTube. So that makes it very important to us. And as always, put your comments in the little chat box and we will address those. Hey, Toby. Woo! All right. So, Mr. Compton, we got you in the hot seat tonight. So I'm very excited. What are you drinking?
So I'm drinking this beer. It's called Omission. It's from Balance Brewery. It's an indie brewer.
Of course it is.
I'm sorry?
Of course it is.
Of course it is, yes. And yeah, I gotta stay on brand a little bit, even though I'm the guest. I mean, I almost did actually go with 805, but I figured that was too boring. I needed to do something different. And it's like they do this process in which they reduce the gluten and use like straight barley to kind of refine the sugar and take the sugar and make that into the alcohol. So there's no sugar in this beer, and it's 99 calories and 3 carbs, and it's gluten reduced, and it is light and airy, and it's like if Blue Moon had like a lot of lime in it. That's what it tastes like.
Nice. I'm not a beer person like at all, but I love that you're nerding out on it. That makes me happy. So I am drinking hot buttered rum because I am a hard liquor girl.
In a cool mug.
Yes, this is my one. It's really old. It's a Rainforest Cafe mug. This mug is probably, I got it when we were in Florida, when we first moved to Florida. So this thing is like 20 years old at this point. It's hilarious, but this is a nice warming little drink.
Yeah, if you're a beer drinker, I would highly recommend. This is really good. I went through one. I've been drinking one for about 30 minutes, and I've been nursing it, but I could just rip through these pretty easily.
That makes them dangerous.
Yeah,
it's the same with the hot buttered
especially when
rum.
I stand up. When I right now that I'm sitting, I'm okay, but once I stand up, it's
like, you're the first guest on the show who's actually been drinking with me.
I know.
Usually it's usually just me who's the lush. So I'm glad I have someone else now.
Well, like I told you before, you can always count on me. I'll never let anybody drink alone. That's my policy.
You got my back. I love it. It makes me happy. All right, so here's my question for you, because I've been part of Go Indie Now Network for as a host, a few months, but prior to that, I was guesting on shows, and Jim Nettles turned me on to it, and I couldn't be happier that he did. So I would like to know what's the origin story of Go Indie Now? Tell us. How did you get the idea? What did it start like? Tell us.
So Go Indie Now kind of started when I decided. So I went through a period where I was making films, and then I went to Hollywood and worked in Hollywood for like 18 months, and it was was a nightmare. It really turned me off to making anything anymore, like
Mm.
artistically, and I really felt like I'd gotten the soul sucked out of me. And so when I came back from that, I ended up meeting my now ex-wife, my wife, and then she we took a trip to Denver to meet some old friends of mine, some actor friends. And when we were there, we just fell right back into place with all of like we were sitting in this alleyway, just hanging out on the side of my friend's house, and we were looking at certain things and going, that would be a great shot if we took that shot of that light and then brought the light down. We were
You're
doing like
filmmaking.
we were doing like the framing and all the filmmaker things. Yeah, you do. And she never seen that side of me before because like I said, I gave it all up. And so she's like, you gotta be back. You gotta go back into arts. This is your life. This is your passion. I see it. You're a
Mhm.
different human when you do that. So I was like, well, I don't want to go into filmmaking. I did that. It was terrible. I was not very good at it. And then I worked in it and I didn't like it. And
Mhm.
so uh I didn't like working in Hollywood, I should say. I loved doing the indie work that I did. But
Mhm.
so I had this novel that, long story short, I tried to get published when I first moved to Denver. I joined the writers group there, and there was a conference called the Gold Conference in Denver, which is a very famous big conference. And I don't know if it even exists anymore. I don't think it does. But at the time, it was the place to go if you lived in Denver, if you wanted to be a writer. And they had opportunities to pitch to agents and stuff like that. And I did all that, and I didn't have any success. And of course, at the bar, I met one of the agents that I pitched to, and she told me what I did wrong about the pitch and everything. And she goes, "I want to know what your book's really about." And so I told her. She took me on. We got to the point where I almost had a deal with a medium-sized, mid, almost upper level publisher. And long story short, they were only interested in turning my book into a TV movie, and I walked away from the deal. And then I got blacklisted and wasn't allowed to send any manuscripts to any bigger publishers that would pay enough to pay the royalties for my agent. And so I again all these happenstances where like
Mhm.
things just haven't gone right for me in the artist world. And I had this manuscript, and again, as much as maligned as my marriage was, my ex-wife again found a inherent flaw when she read it in the book, and she goes, this is a problem. And I looked at it and I go, holy crap, nobody saw that. Like, I went through like
Wow.
40 editors, and my agent picked up the book, and Medium Press was going to publish it and everything. And nobody saw it. And I fixed it. And then at that point, Amazon was just starting to boom. Kindle was coming alive. And so I self published it. And in doing so, I had to do all the marketing. I had to do all the
Right.
things I had to do myself, as everybody here who's watching is probably familiar with that pain and suffering. And I got on Facebook. I ran into a nice author group, and all of a sudden, all the
Mm.
indie authors just came alive for me. They kind of rallied around me. They liked my energy. We liked each other, and I had never experienced that kismet before, that the camaraderie.
Mhm.
And I know I have so many like filmmaking friends that I've lifelong friends that are like real, like true friends. And I was like, well, I know this is a really long story. I
No,
apologize.
go ahead.
But so I was like, I want my filmmaking friends to be involved in this and see this energy, because we've always talked about
Mhm.
how there's no rallying. We don't support each other. It's
Mhm.
very cutthroat in the filmmaking business, and in the music industry, it's even more so. I mean, people will steal music to
Wow.
publish it and make it their own. I mean, and it happens in books and film too, but those people are quickly ostracized and
Mhm.
terrorized. But so I said, well, let me see, how can I get these two communities to come together? Because I think everybody would benefit from everyone's
Mhm.
insight, right? We would all kind of, because we're, at the end of the day, just like I believe most of us are hybrid publishers, like we're somewhere in the middle. I mean, I almost don't believe in pantsing and plotting anymore. I think that we all kind of drift to the
Mhm.
middle.
Sure.
I think the same thing about artists. I think deep down inside, we've all wanted to be a rock star, or we wanted to be this or that, and so some of us try it, some of us dabble in all of that, and so I was like, well, maybe I can get some friends that are kind of doing that together, and I started. There was this conference called Brains to Books, which was a 72-hour weekend online conference, and they hadn't had a video element to it before. And I said, I talked to the organizer, Angela Chrysler, about it, and I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go live for 72 hours on my YouTube channel that I just created, literally like 2 weeks before that, and uh, we'll broadcast and we'll do a conference live, and I did it. I literally, for 65 of the 72 hours, literally like, I don't want anybody to find this. I buried it, but there is a video out there of the closing ceremonies where I'm literally falling asleep on the video, and like you can't understand a word I'm saying because I'm so incoherent by the end of this thing. And I'm like babbling in tongues almost. And so that was the genesis of Go Indie Now. And then from that, I decided, well, let me create. I've always loved variety shows. I've always liked these shows where they have different segments and different things
Mhm.
together. And so I said, well, let me create a show where I interview a filmmaker, I interview a musician, I interview a book, and we do reviews in there, and we do segments, and we have trailers and all that fun stuff in there. And I did, and I created that. That was the first show on Go Indie Now's network. And from there, it became like, well, everybody loved the 72-hour thing. So yeah, so
Me too, Tiffany.
good
I was
luck.
like, "Ooh, I wish I'd have known this story before. We would have queued that puppy up."
So yeah, and so I created this thing for 72, the 72, and everybody who was a part of that loved doing it. So we did panel discussions like monthly. We decided to do like a live panel discussion, and that's kind of the genesis of This Week in Indies a little bit. And so from there, it just blossomed and grew and grew and grew, and I created a bunch of shows, and then people like yourself and Maddie and everybody wanted to jump on board and do shows, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. And so that's how it all started. That's Go Indie Now.
That is awesome. Yay. And for those of you who don't know, this past weekend, Go Indie Now hit 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
So huzzah, Joe. And
Yeah,
that's a reminder, if you haven't subscribed and you haven't hit like, do those things real quick.
nice.
So, you like how I did that? Just very, very
Yeah,
smooth.
very good, very smooth, very good. Nice segue.
Yes, thank you. And don't forget, y'all, feel free to ask questions in the comments. And, of either one of us. It doesn't have to be just Joe. If you want to know, like, what kind of pen I use, I'm happy to share that. So, no, I'm kidding. Well, I will. But anyway, wrong part of the story. All right. So, okay. So you started out as a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of your inspirations? What were some of the things, either as an author, as a screenwriter, as a filmmaker, what are some of the things in your formative years that made you go, I want to do that?
So for filmmaking, it started with the anomaly. This weird thing. My dad and my parents and my brother was old enough to like walk and talk and everything like that. They waited till that point. But every Sunday we go to brunch. That was our ritual. We go to brunch every Sunday, and after brunch, my parents always wanted to do something, and it was either we would go to a bookstore, like they used to have these big books like Walden Books and
They used to
Crown
have
Books.
bookstores.
You're right, yeah,
There were
like
these
big,
things
like big.
called
I mean, there's
bookstores.
Barnes and Noble. This is before Barnes and Noble even,
They had
and yeah, and there was a bookstore, actually a used bookstore that my dad knew about because he went to UCLA. It's called The Hobbit in Westwood,
Mhm.
and we would take a drive out there sometimes and go there. And it was this big, beautiful building that had spiral staircases and like tons and millions of books. So the first thing my dad did the first time I ever went was go find a book that you like. Just
Mhm.
go. Something's going to call to you. And it happened to be Dune. I was 9 years old picking up Dune. Imagine that. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea that I would ever understand it, which I hardly did. But I loved that. I loved the idea that I could sink my teeth into like 500 pages, 700 pages, whatever it was, and just get lost in a world. So then one after that, movies started to become really popular in the early 80s.
Mhm.
Like going to the movies became really popular. And there were blockbusters during that time. And I just remember this moment. We were sitting outside of a movie theater. It was the first time I'd ever had this experience where we had to stand in line and wait for the movie. It was The Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'll never
Uh-huh.
forget it as long as I live. And my dad we had to get there an hour early because my dad is obsessive about being early, but more so because there were these things called trailers in the front of it. They didn't
God,
have advertisements
those
then. There
were
was
my
no
favorites.
yeah. So you had to be there for the trailer, and if we missed the trailers, my dad wouldn't go into the movie theater, which is a bad habit that I adopted later on.
Wow,
But but
that's
so
pretty
but
badass.
yeah, it's pretty strong.
Like, fuck this whole movie. I missed a trailer.
So we went to Raiders of the Line. We were standing in line, and I was looking at all these people, and they were talking about how excited they were about this movie. They heard so much about it and all this. And I was thinking to myself, I didn't know anything. I was completely lost. I had no idea what we were doing. I didn't even know we were going to the movies. I just knew my dad was going to take us somewhere, and that's where he took us. And I thought, everybody's so excited and so passionate about this, and they're all waiting in line to see this. How incredible is that? And then I remember being there, like leaning back at the big screen and just seeing and absorbing it all. And I was mesmerized. And I said, at that point, like a couple weeks earlier, I had told my parents I want to be a dentist. I don't know why I wanted to be a dentist. I just wanted to be a
How
dentist.
weird. You are
So
so
yeah,
weird.
it was like because my mom always asked me, what do you think you'd want to do? You know, you have plenty of time, you can decide. You know, she wasn't pressuring me or anything.
Right.
But she's like, you know, if you focus, you could be whatever you want to be. And then I remember after getting in the car and telling my parents, I said, you know, that dentist thing I was talking about a couple weeks ago, forget that. I'm gonna make a movie. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, that is
And
so cool.
and that has been my goal for the next 20 years was to do that.
I
So
love that. I love that. Oh, I was like that with books. It was like, you could lose yourself in a
yeah.
book and you could just immerse yourself in it. And then you could talk to people about people who've also read it. And it just, oof,
You know,
yay.
the funny thing too, Vanessa, is like books were like I was always the conduit to I was gonna be the one who made Dune, right? I felt like any book I read, I looked at it as a movie and I
Mhm.
was like, I'm gonna make that movie. And that's how I got into books was that way. So
Oh, that's cool. So I think we got a couple questions.
cool.
I've been notified. What's your favorite ice cream? That's my friend Remzi. She's awesome. What's your favorite ice cream, Joe?
I have to say, there's this one at 31 flavors called Cherry's Jubilee. I really
Oh,
love
yeah,
that
that's
ice
good
cream.
stuff.
But if you pressed me and and they didn't, and we weren't at 31 flavors, because that's the only place I think you can get that. I mean, there's
Mhm.
black cherry ice cream, but it's not the same. I don't
Right.
know why it's different, but it is. But if we were standing in front of like a grocery store and looking at ice creams, I'd have to say mint chocolate chip would be my favorite.
Mm,
And
classic.
I'm not a big chocolate guy. I don't like chocolate chips, but
Weirdo.
for some reason that ice
Well,
cream
mint
always,
and chocolate work well together.
yeah.
So, yeah. And for me, it's generally speaking, it is cookie dough ice cream or cookies
Mm.
and cream ice cream. I am a cookie connoisseur, so that
See,
shouldn't.
they didn't have cookie dough ice cream when I first started getting into ice cream,
Well,
so
no. I mean, that was way back in the day, but
now I would say that I would eat that
yeah,
anytime,
yeah.
especially if it's really good chunky ones, the ones that
Mm,
kinda say they're just taste like it, nah.
no. It's got to have actually. I want to be able to chew on a piece of an Oreo in
Mhm.
there, or on a piece of dough, whichever one I'm
Yeah,
doing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That's why
because
I always loved bubblegum ice cream as a kid, but the bubblegum in there always sucked, so
oh
I don't
yeah, because of course it was frozen.
yeah,
But bubblegum does not work if it's frozen.
yeah.
So oh, Tiffany loves mint chocolate chip, and Anita. Although
Yeah,
no
there
wrong
is no
answer.
wrong answers. Yeah.
Yes. So
You asked me my favorite, so that's
Toby
my
says, do you agree that the Uniball Elite 0.5 millimeter pen is the superior writing instrument? I would have to say no. The Energel, either 0.7 or 0.5, is the superior writing
You know what's
instrument.
funny? For me, it's always been felt tip pens. I don't know if anybody can see.
Oh,
Felt
yeah.
tip pens. I love felt tip pens. I've loved like I used to buy the Crayola pens that have like the
Uh-huh.
felt tips ones that have all the different colors, and I would
Mhm.
write in different colors and do that. I've always done that in my whole life.
The only
And
thing
then
about that is it bleeds. And now with paper being so thin and so cheap, it just
mhm.
bleeds all the way through.
I didn't like pencils for some reason. Pencils
Yeah.
always bothered me. I don't like the smell of them. I didn't like something about it. It just always bothered me. And even colored ones, I didn't like the colored pencils even. But the felt tip markers, and then because I'm a product of the '80s, they had these markers that made sounds, and then they admitted like little like traceable like glowing like silver and gold streaks and stuff. Those were the coolest.
Yeah.
And you would smell them and you go, oh yeah, all right, cool. But so I'm old, everybody. Sorry, but
Same. Like, it's okay.
yeah, I
We're
love
good.
those. I've always loved markers for some reason.
Oh, I like this question from Ramsey. Have you ever walked out of a movie because it was so rough?
Yes, I will. I'm not afraid of walking out of movies that are bad. I've walked out of
Excellent.
several.
Excellent. I feel like I have too, but I don't remember.
In
Those
fact, I walked out of one 10 minutes in, and the theater manager was like baffled why I walked out. And they said, well, let me give you your money back. I didn't know that you could get your money back from it.
Oh,
So
hell.
every time I walk out now, I try to go get my money back. So,
That
but
movie sucks. Give me my money.
now instead of giving you your money back, though, they give you like a credit to go see another movie. Or
Yeah,
something.
because they want you back in the building. So, yep. I think there was another. Oh, yeah. Tiffany came in late. She didn't hear what we were drinking.
Oh.
Joe, show us again what you're drinking.
Sure, I'm gonna open a new one.
Oh, yeah.
So it's called a Mission by Balance Brewing. It's an ultimate gold ale. That's what they call it, and it's zero. It has zero sugar because they use the sugar to make the alcohol, and so they burn off the sugar. And 99 calories, 3 carbs, and it's gluten reduced because of the process that they use.
Dang. And I'm drinking hot buttered rum, which is my standard winter drink. Ramsey's familiar with hot buttered rum, so she could.
I know it's weird. It is so weird, Ramsey. Ramsey, it's just I didn't know this. I would have gotten my money back on a lot of movies at that point. But that was
All
cool.
right.
That was like one of like 4 times I've ever got my money back. Like I said before, they do now. They just give you credits.
Yeah. They don't want to let go of the
or
money.
they try to give you the free popcorn voucher, which is like, well, I only eat popcorn when I'm in the movie, so let me go see another movie then.
Yeah, pretty much. Or just stop by and get, hey, I just want some popcorn. And then just leave. Take your bucket of popcorn out to your car and just go. I totally do that.
Yeah, that'd be weird for me.
And Toby wants to know what one book you've read this year that you'd love to make into a film. That's a great question. Yeah.
I really, Toby, I would love to tell you the answer to that question, but I don't think that's fair because this Sunday, which you're helping us do a nice segue, this Sunday we're doing our annual show called This Year in Indies, where I reveal my top 5 books of 2022, and along with other people doing the same, and one of those is the answer to that question.
Oh, sorry, Toby.
Actually, 2 of them would be the answer to that question.
So, and this is exactly how the movie folk get you back into the movie theater after you ask for your money back. That's why they give you a voucher. So, Toby, you're going to have to tune in to that show so you can find out the answer to that question.
Sunday, noon Eastern.
There we go.
Or 10 a.m. for you, Toby, which I know is going to be probably pretty early, but you can always watch it after the fact too. And I'll tell you what, I'll even do this, Toby. I will tell you when I do my top 5 which movie. I'll answer your question then.
Oh, good. So you won't even have to ask again. He'll just answer. Awesome. So Ramsey wants to know when you're going to make one of my books into a movie. Yeah, Joe.
Well, I'm not in that business, but
He's like, I don't do that anymore.
well, I mean, I'm happy to make movies, but yeah, I'd have to read them first, which I'm happy to do, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I can't give you the answer to that question either.
Look at Ramsey, like awkward pause.
Yeah, I don't want anybody because it's being recorded and live, so I don't want anybody to like hold me to it. I have enough problems with deadlines, as Vanessa knows. So
Yes, Joe and I are in a very heated competition, and another person in the writing tribe named Sean. All three of us are late with stories for an anthology, and so
and we
um,
promised about this time last year.
yes, yes, mine was due September 1st, and so I issued a challenge to Joe a couple weeks ago, and I was like, how you doing on your story? And he's like, I said, well, I'm working on mine. I'm gonna kick your ass. And he was like, oh, I've got a million things. Yeah, you're gonna kick your ass. You're gonna kick my ass. And he's just. I was like, no, 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 no. That's not how this works at all.
Mm.
You got to put forth efforts because when I kick your ass, it's gonna be because I kicked your ass. So yeah,
It's
I'm
Vanessa. Easily, it's Vanessa.
I
It's
am
definitely
closest.
Vanessa.
Although I don't know, Sean's been
Yeah,
kicking ass.
Sean's been
So.
really busting. Is that what he's working on? That he keeps talking about 3,500 words and
He's
stuff?
actually got a couple things that he's working on, but that's one of them. That's one of
Cool.
them.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's awesome.
so I'm close. I'm like right near the end.
I'm
I
nowhere
mean,
near close. Sorry,
I've still
Rachel.
got to do a big revision on it because I'm missing something because I changed some things at the end and I need to go back and like add to some
Mm.
things. So competitive, Ramsey. Hello, pot. This is a kettle. You're black. Come on now. Ramsey's way more competitive than I am. So you should be glad she's not in this
Yeah.
competition
Well,
because she freaking win. Okay, favorite type of cake.
oh gosh, I'm
See,
not
Ramsey's
really.
having a party Saturday, so I think she's just trying
Oh,
to figure out what to, what to share or what to
mm,
make. What is your favorite kind of cake?
I know it's gonna be a lot of people are gonna be weirded out by this, but it's carrot cake probably.
Oh, I love carrot cake.
Like when the icing is done right
Yes,
and the
not
the,
too
the
sweet.
carrot is moist. I
Yes,
know people hate that word too.
dude, you make it hungry. I don't care. Moist, 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 moist.
But yeah,
Um,
that's probably. I'm not a big sweets guy. I don't really get into sweets all that much, so I
for for
barely eat.
me, For me, oh, Tiffany, I have a cheesecake, a funny cheesecake story. But for me, any kind of cake, as long as it doesn't have coconut in it. Like I don't do the German chocolate unless they leave the coconut off. Like I'm totally a baked goods girl. You can
Mm.
make me almost any kind of cake. Tiffany says cheesecake. So Remzi's part of the group. Last year we had something called the cheesecakening, and it's where several people brought cheesecake, but also they baked cheesecakes, like taught people how to bake cheesecakes
Cool.
and stuff. We had so much cheesecake. Fuck. I took home probably four. I brought my niece with me to it, and we each took home probably 4 or 5 pieces of different cheesecake. It was awesome.
I like cheesecake too. I do like cheesecake, but it's kind of like it's kind of like finding a good steak. Like
Yeah,
cheesecake has that like
yeah.
that
I
kind of.
prefer the fluffy cheesecake, the
Mm.
light cheesecake to the baked. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll eat both. I'll eat both. But I like the, you know what I mean, the like lighter
Mhm.
fluffy
Of
one
course,
rather
yeah, yeah,
than
yeah,
the heavier, denser one.
yeah.
So, Toby's asked several really, really good questions, but we keep getting off on
Yeah.
talking about like our food and stuff. What is your process for deciding what to do on Go Indie Now? I love that question. Toby, I'm just going to sit back and let Toby ask all the questions. I'm just gonna sit here.
uh, the short answer is you come to me with an idea and I say yes. That's the
I
short
mean, I'm right here.
answer.
That's how this show happened.
To be honest with you, it really it I do seasonal things like a TV network, so I'm always plotting, and I mean I like you can see here I've got like shows scheduled out and things like
Very,
that, and like there's piles of paper like that where I just kind of sketched ideas. Like I do a like a TV grid and I put things in different places and see where they would fit, uh and then and then I just ask, what do you want to do, and then we process it and put it together. So.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I just was like, well, it was kind of a mutual thing.
Mhm.
And he was like, I want you to do something for Wendy now. I was like, well, I keep wanting to do an interview show, but I'm too lazy to produce it myself. So, Joe, you want to produce it for me? And he's like, sure, I do it anyway. So come on. So here we
Yeah.
are. So,
Mhm.
how do you find inspiration for stories or movies?
Mm. Toby with the really good
I
questions.
know. That's why I love Toby so much because this lets me embrace my inner nature, which is laziness. So,
For me, it's the process of kind of I come up with so many ideas daily, and I kind of work a little bit of like a blurb or synopsis, like one paragraph thing, and kind of figure out if I can work off of that and go with it. I mean, it just comes to me. It's not something that really I think about. There's nothing I mean, I just get inspired by anything typically. There's no stimulus that I wouldn't invest time into thinking about making it. Although I will say, now that I'm getting back into filmmaking, for me, the journey is more about the things I'm passionate about that I've learned as a person, the lessons I've learned, and I want to make films that resonate with people about my own journey and what that means, but doing it in a fictional sense, if that makes any sense.
mhm,
I'm kind of writing what I know to kind of a fictionalized version of it in that
mhm,
respect. I haven't gotten quite there yet with my novels because I have so many ideas that I want to get through before that. Most of my novel ideas are very far fetched and just I like psychology a lot, so I like to play with the mind aspect of things. I like a lot of things that kind of bend your mind and twist it and things like that. So I do a lot of that kind of work with books because I feel like I have much more room to work there, and it's
yeah,
easier to write the words for that, if that makes sense, than on a
mhm.
screen. But I am investing. The feature film that I've been writing for the past year now is investing in the journey that I just went through, the self discovery that I just went through as a person, and using that as a springboard to a fictionalized story. So.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Um, I like the way you described how you're kind of creating almost like a memoir, a fictionalized memoir experience,
Hmm.
which I think is really, really cool. I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Ramsey has a good question too. Have you ever gotten far into writing and realized the story wasn't going the way you planned? Was it too late to turn back? Did you do so anyway, or did you table it and go where your inspiration goes?
It happens to me more than I want to admit, and in fact, this very contest that we're talking about, it actually happened to me. And Rachel has volunteered like 3 times to say, "Just give me what you've got, and I'll tell you what direction to go." And I have been reluctant to do that because I just don't feel like
You
I
need
just
to
feel
take
like I would feel like she would fire me. That's why.
no, you need to take her up on that because today at co-working, I joked that if I didn't get it done by the end of the year, that I was just going to send it to her and she could tell me how to end it. And she was like, no. So if she offered you to do that, freaking
Well,
do
no,
it.
I told her I was stuck, and she goes, "Well, let me see what you've got, and I'll tell you how
Uh,
where you can go with it, and how we
then
can work
take her
through
up
it."
on it.
And I was like, but it's so bad. I don't want to like. I have to find. I have to find the crux of it. And when I feel comfortable enough to send, I do this to my publisher all the time. She hates this too. Uh, I the independent publisher that I work with, I bounce ideas off of her now because she has insisted that I do that because she knows that as soon as just like my ex-wife figured out, as soon as I start talking creatively with somebody, I just get inspired and
Mhm.
get motivated. And As soon as I do that, as soon as somebody figures out something for me and I talk through it, all of a sudden I figured it out and I go through it. So yeah, I should take up Rachel, but I know Rachel's very busy too, and I
No,
didn't.
no. She doesn't offer unless she's willing to do it.
I know, but
I mean,
yeah,
I asked and she said no. So she offered to you. So clearly she's holding space in her schedule.
yeah,
But also you have to take people at their words. Don't think you know
yeah,
better than her what she can do. Don't
yeah.
don't take away her agency like that.
It's really it's on my own personal insecurity of being fired that I just like she would think that I was a terrible writer and I didn't want to
I
do
don't think she would do that. I think you need to have more faith in her than that. So
Well, I gotta have more faith in me, I guess. It's
yeah.
not her that I'm worried
I
about.
will say, I will answer Ramsey's question too, because in the story that we're in competition about, I literally had to throw away 4,000 words
Mm,
because the story went off in a direction and it would have been fine. Like, it's like it went off in this direction where my Scoobies, like, one of their guys gets taken and they see him get taken and they see a place in the distance that they think that they went, and I'm like, I don't want them to go out there because I can't introduce that and then them not go out there like that.
yeah,
That's not how that works. So I
yeah.
ended up scrapping 4,000 words, which I hardly ever do. Like, I don't remember the last time I cut that big a scene.
Yeah, for
So yeah.
anybody who's unfamiliar with Going Now, it's something that I constantly talk about with authors about. I am the guy that's thrown more words away than he's published. I guarantee it. I
I don't
don't care.
know.
I just do not keep anything. I just
Oh, I
because I
keep
feel
it.
like if it doesn't fit the story I'm telling, it's not worth remembering,
Yeah.
and I throw it away.
Oh,
So
no, I keep it. You know why? Because I can use that as, do not do that. Do not throw shit away, because you can use it as deleted scenes, cutting room floor scenes for your fans, for your patrons on Patreon. Quit wasting your words. So, all right. So, all right. Rimsey wants to know, what do you do to break inspiration block? Do you have writer's block? Do you suffer from writer's block?
no, not very often. I do though, but I've come up with this. I actually I do this weird thing where I look at the wall in front of me or I look at something and I focus on that and I write about it. So
Mhm.
like if the like for example, if I was to describe my wall, it's a stucco wall. It has little indentions in it, and the little indentions are forming little pictures right in front of me. And I'll start describing that, and then like I said, creatively, or I'll DM somebody and go, hey, did you see this movie or did you see this? And we'll start talking about that. Like JD and I will start talking about boxing events that we've talked about in the past, or we'll talk about music. And as soon as I do that, like as soon as I get off that chat, I'm writing all of a sudden. So
Mm,
I found a way to just kind of get my own engine revved. It's kind of like a jump starting. And I know nobody here probably drives a manual transmission, but it's kind of like jump starting a manual transmission where you used to have to
that
run
is
it and
neutral.
yeah, and run it and then keep it turning, and then once it turns over and finally
Mm.
get started. So that's how I do it.
That's cool. And for me, what I found for myself is when I have actual writer's block, it's because I don't know what I'm doing in my writing. I
Mm,
don't know where I'm supposed to be going, or I don't know what the point is. I'm missing something. And I find that when I figure that out, the writer's block goes away.
mm.
Or if I just finally sit my ass in the chair and start working, that's a thing. I mean, we did talk about laziness, so there is that. So, yeah, we're getting lots of great questions. Rosie wants to know if we're inspiring and do we want to write about cake and ice cream now? No, I
Yeah.
want to eat cake and ice cream. I don't want to write about it. I want to put it in my face.
Actually, Ramsey, I was thinking about I have a scene where they're walking towards something, and now I was thinking about what if they were walking toward an ice cream vendor on the street, and so there you go. So yeah, you did inspire me a little bit.
Ah, nice. Good. And I'm gonna butcher your name. Chico Asian. Oh no, I didn't butcher it. I just had to divide it out. Got it. Sometimes you follow a side character backstory, bit of world building. Sometimes how do you cut those things that help? But yeah, and then they say your example is answering my question. Never mind. But yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. You've got to be like, all right, that's not where the story's supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I do is I don't throw it away. Because also I keep like I think, okay, well, that line I need that information in the main story, and this line I need this information in the main story. And so I isolate what is necessary for the story, like you said, this, thing they help, parts help, but then you have to find a different way to get it in there.
Yeah.
I actually, as I move forward, one of the scenes I cut, I took pieces of it and like some of the dialogue, because they still needed to talk about this thing that I had them talking about in this place that they didn't need to be. And so I added it to the scenes that I just wrote. So, or, that I was writing today. So, oh, it's Whimsy. Oh, hi, Whimsy. These are my buddies, my Atlanta folks.
Nice.
Yes. So, yay. Which of your own works are you most proud of? Toby's going to be my stand-in when I can't do the show. Toby's going to be my guest host. Besides the whole Go Indie Now network. Oh, okay. Making it hard, Toby.
Most proud of it would have to be my first film. Even though it was a disaster, everything went wrong. I did everything you could possibly do wrong. It's terrible. Nobody will ever see it because I've managed, I think, to burn every copy. Although for some reason actors held on to their copies and they're punishing me with it from time to time. And then, I say that and then people watch it and they go, it wasn't that bad, but so I love, that's probably my favorite compliment I got from that experience was it wasn't that bad.
So, but we're always harder on our work than almost anybody else is.
Okay. Here, just to give you two ideas of how bad this is, right? So we filmed in a liquor store, and we couldn't turn the coolers off, the refrigerators off, because that would ruin their inventory. They didn't have time to take it all out and put it in the freezer and everything like that, because we had literally found this place like the week we were going to shoot. And so we devised this plan to block the noise, and we thought we had gotten onto the frequency of it. And then we get to the editing bay, and like all the dialogue is, there's this hum underneath it, because the boom operator, who only got the only legitimate sound we could get, was pointed at the thing because that was the best angle for him to be out of the shot. Which he wasn't. There was several different times in which the boom mic showed up in shot. Really great takes that I had to cut because they were in there. But there was this great scene. There was this great shot we came up with, and it was there was several actually. And they're all in the trailer, which you can find again if you Google Carl's Liquor trailer. You'll find the trailer to my film. It's
Carl with a C or a K?
K. And I can tell you the origin of why it's Carl's Liquor. But that trailer has a lot of the best shots in it because we were so proud of those shots. We worked on them so hard, and they worked out so well. And there's some great humor in it, and it was just an experience that I'll never forget. It was the thing I've wanted to do for my entire life, and I did it, and I did it on my own. I had one producer, and we split 50-50 the money to make the movie, and we barely made it off of like one credit card, and it was done. We borrowed the equipment. We utilized the guerrilla filmmaking tactics of filming in a parking lot that we weren't supposed to be in at the time we were supposed to be there. We sweet talked 2 liquor stores into letting us film there, and then we filmed at my house was the other part. And we made like a nightclub from from the balcony of the house I was living in. And so we did all of that in literally 2 weekends. We filmed it in 6 days. It was gonna be this is how crazy I am. I decided to make a feature film before I ever made a short film or did anything. I wanted this to be a feature film, and it turned out that was better at 43 minutes, a 43-minute short film that we ended up making it into 21 minutes. So we made it into a short film because we took the best parts of it, and it's still bad. But that to me was the greatest experience of my life, and I'll never forget it. I mean, I really felt like that was the validation that I had been searching for all my
It was
life.
like the culmination of your dream.
Yeah, and then the second film, I was more excited about that because I made so many mistakes from
Right.
the first one. I was not
Yes.
going to make the same mistake, but then the second film had its own mistakes.
Right. And that's your goal, though. That's your goal, is always to make new mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah,
Toby makes a good point. He says you're always critical of the work you just finished because you grew while making it.
yeah.
And that's so true. That's so true. You know,
Yeah.
we've got a couple more questions, and this is similar. So maybe apart from the filmmaking, what is the one thing you did this year that you're most proud of, and why, other than walking a billion steps? I think it's unfair to take that out because that's a really big thing and something to be super
3
proud
million.
of.
Yeah, I will. I'm 700 steps away from 3 million right now. So
For the year. Y'all, that's
yeah.
amazing.
Um,
I'm lucky I get 700 steps in a day. So
I think. I mean, well, here I would say going now at this point, since that wasn't taken out of the equation. I'm super proud of the growth we've made and the people
yeah.
involved in it. Um, Gosh, that's a great question that I would have to reflect on, to be honest with you, because like I feel like I've done so much work on myself over the last year and a half, and I've grown so much, and I just feel like that's the culmination of all of that has been the
Mhm.
greatest experience.
Yeah.
I'm ready to live the next 50 years. So,
Yay. Awesome. Yeah, and I do want to commend you because Go Indie Now has really grown
mhm,
in very visible and excellent ways the last
absolutely.
I mean since I first started
Hmm.
interacting with y'all. I mean, you've gotten some really cool and innovative shows, including mine. No, but like even aside from mine, but you had a game show, and you have like the mean reviews thing,
Hmm.
and you've got all these different things. And those of you who don't know, there's even a news show the first Friday of the month. Although we haven't been as consistent the last couple of months, but yeah, it's just it's so good, so
Yeah.
good.
I will say, okay, I did think of something. It is meeting several people in October that I met, in one being October, uh, Toby, and I got to meet Toby and Rosemary and Madeline and Chris, her husband, in person, and Adam Gaffin in person. I mean, I always love that. I love when we actually physically
Mhm.
interact and get to meet in person. That to me was that's the big win for me always.
Yes, yes, and that was our like 1 year anniversary of having met in
Yeah.
person. We met in person for the first time the multiverse before that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yay. Awesome. All right, so this will be the last audience question, I think. Are there any storylines you have wanted to pursue but never seems the right time and you keep tabling it? That's an excellent question.
Yeah, I've been wanting to write this 6-book fantasy series that I have all kind of outlined. Don't tell anybody. I actually outlined something, but
You're taking away your Pantser card.
it's just a bare bones. It's not like
Okay.
physically outlined. I didn't like number things and all that.
Nobody.
But I have the ideas all laid out, and so I keep pushing it off because other things have gotten in. I've written the first draft of the first one, but so that's the thing I've been tabling. So
Yeah. I understand that too, because sometimes, and especially you have a day job,
mhm,
and then you also have the entire Go Indie Now network, and you
mhm,
do all of your editing, as far as I know.
mhm.
Your
Well,
graphics, Karina does your graphics.
Maddie does editing too, so
Okay. So Remzi wants a sneak preview. It's still in rough draft form, Remzi. You don't get it yet. She's like, I want to see. So now, Joe, when you're ready for beta readers, let me know and I'll poke Remzi and she can be a beta reader
cool,
for you.
awesome.
Yes. So these have just been Joe does way more than me. Well, I mean, it's his network, so I can understand why. Ramsey doesn't want to wait. She wants it now because she's impatient. It's okay. She ain't gonna die. She's gonna be fine. So we've had some really good questions.
Yeah.
All right. So what is on your bucket list? Your creative bucket list?
Creative bucket list?
Yeah. I mean, you can give me your regular bucket list too, but I'm interested in knowing what is currently on your creative bucket list.
There's two things that I'm looking at that are nearer to the future than they're not, and that is completing a feature film that is actually out there and people can see and people can watch, and whether that be online or be in movie theaters. Actually, to be in a movie theater, that would be a dream come true for me, because that we didn't get to. I have not yet had the experience of having a movie that I have personally written and directed in there. I've had movies that I've been involved with be in movie theater runs, but I've never personally written and directed a movie that was in a movie theater run. So that is something that is a goal of mine. And then the other thing is to be running a 24/7 network of Go Indie Now programming every day, all day long. So
wow,
those are the two bucket list ideas that I think are closer than they're not, and I'm working hard to make those two things happen. So
yay, that's awesome. So this feature film, will you give us just like bare information? Like, is it like genre? What's it about, or it whatever extent you are comfortable? I'm interested.
So it's a fantasy drama. It is about a gentleman who discovers that he can live forever, that he has the ability to live forever, and the burden that goes along with that. But the idea is that he's searching for the reason why he became this way. And so he goes on this spiritual journey and realizes that there's people who want to take the power from him. There's people who are trying to test him. And what he realizes along the way is that he was given this because he's supposed to be the one to do the things that the world needs done, the higher power, the source needs done in order to complete his life cycle. And so that is the crux of it.
So a chosen one. It's a chosen one story.
Yeah, sort of, but it's kind of a reluctant hero story as well, because there's other factors involved in other things that happen that change, that change his perspective, and of course he's searching for the meaning of it. Even though he can never die technically, he's still searching for meaning, and it was kind of an interesting exercise for me to go into that mindset. So.
Yeah, I think that's a very that is a classic human question, is trying to find meaning in our lives. I think those of us who, are still searching, it's like it creates a lot of inner turmoil without us always realizing that that's what it is, until we actually find our meaning, whatever that looks like. So what a universal concept. That's super cool. All right.
And again, it's loosely based on something that I've been going through for the last couple of years.
Gotcha. Excellent. And that makes it even more personal, right? Because
Yeah.
it means you can speak from those feelings specifically.
And I have a really cool ending, and I'm so excited to get to it, but I have to. This is my problem. I come up with a really cool ending about 3/4 or a third of the way in. Usually, I'm like just starting the second act when I come up with the ending, and then I can't fill the second act to get to the end of the third act, and that's always been my problem as a pantser. And so I've been working really hard to subdue that and kind of just take my time and get there.
Mhm. Well, Sean actually suggested, I don't know if you're around, this was months ago when he was talking about it, but he was talking about that sometimes he'll write the beginning of the story and then he'll
Mhm.
write the end of the story and then he'll go back and forth from each direction until they meet in the middle, which I thought was really cool because, one of the things he says is it keeps, the middle's always a slog. It's a
Yeah,
slog, that's where you are right now. You're like going straight into the middle. And
yeah.
it's always a slog, and that's why, I thought that was a really interesting way to do it, because you're still linear, you're just going in different directions until you meet in the middle. So I thought that was
It's
kind of
the reason I'm having so much problems with this assignment that we've had, because I don't know the end, and
yes,
that has been my biggest problem, is like I
yes,
can't connect the dots, and so
yes.
I'm like lost in, like, it's like being in a forest and not knowing which direction you just went from. So
And that's why you have to get into it and you have to keep writing it because
mhm,
you're not going to get the ending until you're writing, until you're in it. Once you're in it, you'll figure the ending out.
yeah,
And you know that feeling you get when you figure something out and it's just like everything just goes and it just
yeah,
all the little pieces fall into the
yeah,
places they're supposed to be. And it's like, oh my God, it's
yeah.
awesome.
I
Yes.
felt that way a lot with this script.
Yeah.
It's been magical in that respect, because I think I shied away from putting myself in it, and then once I put myself in it, it made a lot more sense. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That totally tracks. I totally get that. So one more question from me. What is on your aside from the 24/7 uh
mhm.
programming, in the coming year, what is one thing that you want to do with Go Indie Now that you haven't done yet?
This is something that this is actually something I've really thought about. And there's two ideas that I've had that I've really wanted to put into play, and one of them I don't think is ready yet to do that, so I'm not going to talk about that one. But the other one is, uh, I've I actually have a friend who passed away a couple years ago who brought this idea to me, and I've wanted to do it, but because they're not involved anymore, it's been really hard to do it. And then
Mm.
I had somebody else I was trying to get involved with it, and their vision and my vision didn't align very well. And so, but I would love to have kind of like a morning talk show. That's kind of
Mm.
what I would love to like, a daily morning talk show on Monday through Friday, early morning talk show kind of thing. Because I
Like
would
Good
think,
Morning America? Like something like that?
no, yeah, something. Well, something, maybe more of along the lines of like, not that this is a good example, but the format, like a Howard Stern or something to that effect, where there's people who have personality talking about indie stuff, but then we bring on indies, like, and I really want to do it because there's a lot of folks that we know, like Karina, who live in Greece and things like that, who can't be on our shows as much because of the time differences.
Mm.
And so it would be really cool to have a morning show so that people from Australia and people from Greece and places that, we can't normally have on our show be on and talk about their stuff. And I would love to like have it where you could play live music in there, where we get an artist on there and they play a song or two from
Oh
their new
yeah,
album.
that would be cool.
Those are the kind of things that I really want more diversity in the art world too. I've been talking to somebody about comic books and getting more involved with indie comics and indie, um just different indie things, that indie
Mm.
artistries that we haven't covered in the past very well. And so those are that this year, and it may be toward the fall that more of this stuff happens, not
Mhm.
early 2023, but those are the things I've been working on. um the other one's kind of a pipe dream for me. I'll talk about it if that's okay.
Yeah.
uh so I remember growing up, loving Headbangers Ball and 120 Minutes. I miss MTV. I miss MTV the
Mhm.
way it was, and I want to recreate that, but with indies. And so I've been trying to figure out ways to get my Twitch channel more involved in what we do, and and I thought that might be a cool thing to do is like on a Saturday night where we just DJ indie music, but have like maybe we have some music videos thrown in there so that's not like people are just like watching somebody DJ. But people do that. So I don't know if that's not a bad, yeah.
Hey,
We would
huzzah.
love to have you, Toby. Always. Any chance I get to have Toby on, I would love that. But yeah, so those are the kind of things that I've been thinking about in the immediate future.
I love how you think so big. That's one of the things I adore about you is that you get these grand ideas, but they're not out of reach.
Yeah.
And they're things that you can do, but there's still these amazing, wonderful ideas that are huge. And just like, I feel like other people would be incredibly intimidated about it, but you're like, yeah, that's what I'm working on. I'm going to end of next year. We're going to get all that sorted out. I'm like, yes. So, all right. Sadly, Joe, it's almost time. So I want to remind everybody to mash the like button and hit subscribe. And we're going to toast real quick, or Joe's just going to drink. We're going to toast. Ta-da.
Thank you, everybody, for the wonderful question.
And Joe, take your sip. You want to share what time it is?
It's always time to go indie now.
Yeah, it is.